Dalton versus Tim Boyle. Oh boy, the Chicago Bears take on the winless Detroit Lions this Thanksgiving morning. Who's going to win this matchup? Watch this video to find out. What's going on, guys? I'm back with the Chicago Bears prediction videos, which I'll be doing every single week this year. So if you guys want more Bears prediction videos from me, subscribe to this channel. But in today's video, I'll be talking about the upcoming Thanksgiving matchup between our 3-7 Chicago Bears going up against the winless Detroit Lions. What a fantastic primetime matchup to feature in front of all of America. I really feel bad for all the people that actually have to watch this game. I know a lot of people are going to watch this game because football is king, man, in this country. Like, people will watch whatever football game is on just because it is football, okay? That's how much us Americans love our football. So people going over to their grandma's houses, to their grandpa's houses, they're going to have this game on in the background. I'm probably not watching it too intently, but some people are going to watch this, which you know, it sucks for them because it's probably not going to be a very entertaining game. And I do have to say, man, for the people watching this video right now, for the people that still care this deeply about the Chicago Bears, even though our rookie quarterback is not going to play, even though, you know, the matchup is not going to be that exciting, for those people out there that still care about this franchise, you guys are some of the most loyal, diehard fans that exist, and I have so much respect for all of you, man, okay? I'm just like you guys. Like, if the Bears are having a terrible season, if they're even not winning many games, I'll still be tuning into every single week's games. I'll still be cheering for the Bears to win because I just can't help it, okay? That's how loyal I sadly am to this franchise, and I know a lot of you guys are like me as well. So respect to all of you guys that are holding down the fort. But talking about this matchup, guys, it's going to be between two pathetic, terrible teams this year, okay? Two teams that haven't won a lot of football games. The Lions haven't won a single football game, and the Bears, I mean, their head coach reportedly might be fired after this Thanksgiving game, okay? According to the patch.com, which that's not a very reputable, you know, NFL news outlet, so take this with a grain of salt, but I saw a lot of people talking about this, and even the reporters in Matt Nagy's press conference, they asked Matt Nagy about this report that he is going to be fired after this Thanksgiving game, regardless of if the Bears win the game or not. Now, again, I don't know if I fully believe that report because it seems like a stupid thing to do, okay? Why not just fire him right now then? Like, why give him an extra game just to coach for the hell of it, okay, when you already know he's going to be fired? So I truly don't know if that's real or not. I do hope it's real because I don't want Matt Nagy coaching my team anymore, but it's just, it adds to the chaos that is the Chicago Bears in 2021, okay? We don't know who's staying here long-term. We don't know if Ryan Pace is staying here long-term. We don't know which members of our roster are staying here long-term, so it's just a sad state of affairs for the Bears franchise, but the Lions, they're not that much better, okay? They don't have a single win this year. They might be going 0-17-1 based on how bad the season is going. And, you know, Jared Goff might also not play in this game again because he's still dealing with some type of injury. So it's not going to be a very pretty game. It's going to be some bad football played, but let me break down this matchup, guys, talking about both rosters, and I'll talk about the Lions offense first of all. So they rank number 30 in points per game. They're number 27 in yards per game. They're the number 30 passing offense and number 16 rushing offense. So you can see, man, clearly all across the board, they are a bad offense, okay? Not worse than the Bears because the Bears are actually worse than the Lions on offense, but the Lions are also pretty freaking bad, man, all across the board, okay? Their passing game has been pretty much non-existent this entire year with both Jared Goff and with Tim Boyle. I mean, if Tim Boyle is actually playing, he's been even worse than Jared Goff, which is kind of hard to do, okay? Because Jared Goff has been one of the worst quarterbacks in all of football this year. But Tim Boyle last week against the Browns, he only had 77 passing yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions in a whole game of football, okay? That's pretty freaking bad. And that's also partly because they don't have a lot of pass catchers to throw to, okay? They don't have a good receiving core whatsoever. The only really good receiver they have is a tight end, TJ Hockenson, okay? TJ Hockenson is one of the better tight ends in the NFL, but aside from him, they have pretty much nobody to throw to, okay? So a very stale, a very broken Lions offense. The only thing that somewhat works for them is the run game, okay? Because DeAndre Swift is actually having a very fantastic sophomore season. He's one of the only players that's actually doing really well for the Lions recently, okay? Aside from him, like, nobody else is having good days on the Lions offense. Besides for maybe rookie Penei Sewell, he's actually been having a pretty good season. Also, center Frank Ragnow as well. So they have some pieces on the offensive line, but their offensive line, aside from those two, also hasn't been that good. So, I mean, what can I say about this Lions offense? It's a horrible offense, but knowing the Bears will somehow struggle against it. So that's the Lions offense. Talking about the Lions defense, and it is even worse than their offense. Okay, they're ranked number 30 in points given up per game. They're ranked number 27 in yards given up per game. They're number 13 in pass defense, number 31 in rushing defense. So all across the board, man, it is a horrible defense. Okay, one of the worst in the entire NFL, like they have been for the past like 5+ years. Now I will say though that they have been playing a little bit better the last 2 games, but that may have to do with like how bad the opposing quarterbacks have been. Okay, because Baker Mayfield had a bad game against the Lions, which it was kind of just him being bad, throwing some pretty bad balls. And then before that, they faced off against Mason Rudolph. So if Andy Dalton can be better than Baker Mayfield and Mason Rudolph, then our offense should have a lot more success, because this Lions defense otherwise isn't that good at all, guys. Okay, they lack talent at practically every single major position on the defense. They don't have good safeties, they don't have good cornerbacks, they don't have good pass rushers, good linebackers. So it's a talent depleted defense, and that's why their defense has, given up so many yards, so many points this year, especially their run defense, man. They cannot stop anybody when it comes to containing them on the ground. So overall, a very bad defense. Talking about the Chicago Bears, though, I'll start by talking about their offense. They're number 29 in yards per game, number 31 in points per game, number 32 in passing offense, and number 6 in rushing offense. And pretty much everything I've wanted to say about the Bears offense has already been said by me in other videos, so I won't be talking too much about the Bears offense, but pretty much we're coming off a terrible, horrific performance, okay, on the offensive side of the football, only putting 13 points of offense against, a defense that was ranked number 32 against the pass. That also, wasn't, they were missing a lot of players, okay? They had key guys out, and the Bears offense still could do practically nothing against them. So this Bears offense has had a couple good days, for example, against the Lions, the last time, against the Steelers as well, Monday Night Football, but they're just way too inconsistent to be considered even an average NFL offense, okay? They're pretty freaking bad all across the board. The only thing we can do is run the football well, which that's worked practically this entire season. But we will have Andy Dalton in this game, so it'll be interesting to see how that, affects the run game as well, because Justin Fields helped out a running game a lot because he was also a threat to run with the football. That's not going to be present with Andy Dalton. Now, Andy Dalton is pretty good in the short passing game. He did do pretty well in the last game against the Ravens and the only time he played in, but it also wasn't anything too special. So I think that Andy, if the pieces around him are working well, then maybe he could have another good day, but I don't expect anything too much out of him either, because this offense is broken all across the board. Talking about the Bears defense, then they're ranked number 21 in points given up per game. They're number 11 in yards given up per game. They're number 11 in pass defense, and also number 24 in rushing defense. And pretty much, guys, the way to describe this Bears defense is that it has the talent to be, an average defense at least, but it's just been choking really badly in situations where we have needed them the most. Okay, last game against the Ravens, going up against a backup quarterback that has never started a game before in the NFL, they allowed a, game-winning touchdown drive to that player, okay, to Tyler Huntley, and they choked the last game too against Ben Roethlisberger, against the Steelers. So it's just that even though this Bears defense has been good in stretches, they have not been good enough to the point where I have any sort of faith in them. Okay, Kindle Vildor's by far the worst cornerback in the NFL right now. He's allowed the highest passer rating in the NFL. So we have problems at cornerback. We have problems at middle linebacker. Aside from Roquan Smith, Danny Trevathan is out now. Alec Ogletree also has not been anything special really, especially in coverage. So it's a very limited defense right now, but Robert Quinn going off is probably the highlight of this defense right now. Okay, he had 3.5 sacks in the last game. He has 10 sacks total on the season. So he's been a pretty nice story, but aside from Robert Quinn, there haven't been too many other nice stories on the Bears defense. Let me get to my 3 keys to Bears victory now, okay? How can the Chicago Bears get this win against the winless Detroit Lions? And key number 1, guys, is going to be to have 25 plus carries for our running backs. Okay, we should be trying to run the football as much as we possibly can, because the Lions have the worst rushing defense not the worst in all of football, but one of the worst in all of football. They rank number 31 in run defense, and for the Bears being a top 6 rushing offense, it would make sense to run the football as much as we can. I don't trust our passing offense at all this year, because Matt Nagy has not been able to scheme, open looks for our receivers. Our receivers also have not been able to get open consistently enough. Aside from Darnell Mooney, we don't have a really good receiver playing in this game, because Allen Robinson probably is going to be out for this game as well. So I don't expect the passing offense to work so much. So why not run the football as much as you possibly can. So that's key number 1, guys. Key number 2 then is going to be to pressure Tim Boyle early and often. Tim Boyle is a terrible quarterback under pressure. He's bad as it is, but he's even worse under pressure, guys. Okay, his pressure stats are not good. I mean, the sample size is pretty small, but against the Browns, he was pretty bad under pressure. So if he can just get pressure on him, man, with Robert Quinn getting to the quarterback, with, you know, our backup guys now, like, you know, Travis Gibson, maybe get Ladarius Mack in there on the sack again. Get the other guys that we have too. Maybe Bruce Irvin plays in this game. I don't think he played the last game, but we need to get our pass rushers going in this game after either Tim Boyle or Jared Goff, because both of them are pretty bad under pressure. And we can probably force some turnovers if we do get pressure on the quarterback. So that's key number 2, guys. And then finally, key number 3 is going to be to tune out all the distractions in this game, especially for the players. Okay, the players know that Matt Nagy is on the hot seat. They know that change is probably going to be coming soon in the Bears organization. But as a player, you just cannot think about that way too much, because you have to think about winning this football game. You have to think about playing as hard as you possibly can. You have to think about beating this team, because the Lions have kept a lot of their games pretty damn close. Okay, they barely lost against the Browns. They barely lost against the Steelers. They might be due for a victory unless the Bears actually lock in and focus on winning this game, which I realize that's going to be so hard to do, because you are also a human. I know that us fans think that's easy for players to, you know, go through this noise and just ignore it, but it really is not, guys. Like, these players know what's being said about them. They know what's being said about their coach, and why would they fight hard for a coach that they think might be fired after this game? It just makes no sense at all to me, guys, how the Bears are handling this. So if Matt Nagy is indeed going to be fired after this game, that's going to be such an unnecessary distraction for the Bears players. But I truly hope and pray that they're somehow able to focus on this game and still play their hardest, regardless of if their coach is going to be here after the game or not. And finally, guys, it's time for my score prediction for this game. Who do I have winning this matchup? And I have the Chicago Bears barely beating the Lions by a score of 17-14. Now, I would not be surprised at all if the Bears lost this game, so I'm not confident at all that the Bears are going to win this, but I just feel like, man, the Lions are that bad of a team that even though the Bears are in such chaos right now, even though the Bears lost to Tyler Huntley, even though our coach might be fired after this game, I still feel like we have just enough talent to sneak out this win on the road. Okay, it's not going to be pretty, it's not going to be fun, and Matt Nagy, according to reports, might still be fired after this game, which I would 100% be okay with. Okay, Matt Nagy still should be fired even if we win this game, because it's only against the Detroit Lions. But I've seen some Lions games this year, and they have to be the most cursed franchise ever, okay? Because they've kept some games pretty close, but every single time they find a way to lose at the end, which I hope is what happens in this game as well. Okay, again, I'm not confident the Bears are going to win. I don't think it's going to be by a lot, but I feel like we have just enough to pull out this victory, because Tim Boyle, man, he is a very, very bad quarterback, and Andy Dalton still is good enough to probably lead us to this victory. So I have the Bears winning barely in an ugly game. For my offensive MVP of this game, I have that going to David Montgomery, because I think the Bears are going to run the football as much as they possibly can, because the Lions have a very bad run defense. So Monty should be getting, you know, hopefully 20 plus carries, hopefully 100 plus yards, and he should be offensive MVP of this Thanksgiving game. And then finally for defense MVP, I have that going to Robert Quinn, because he is probably the best player on the Bears defense right now. Okay, with Khalil Mack gone, he's really stepped up, and I think that continues in this game against the Lions. I think he gets 1.5 sacks to add to his 10 sacks on the season. So there you have it, guys. I have the Bears barely beating the Lions in a very ugly Thanksgiving matchup. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Okay, do you think the Bears are going to win this game? I think a lot of you probably are going to pick a loss, which I can't even blame you guys for doing that, okay? Because that's how bad the Bears are at this point in time, that we could still even lose against this winless Lions team. I hope that doesn't happen, because I don't want the embarrassment of us losing to the only winless team. That would be really sad for the Bears franchise, but at this point I would not even be overly surprised if it happens. So definitely leave your comments down below, guys. Hopefully Matt Nagy gets fired after this game, but as always, guys, bear down.